You're about to see a lot of strange things. This white-tailed deer was discovered by accident on the streets of Farragut, Tennessee. The poor animal struggled to walk, constantly stumbled, and had hair sticking out of its eyes. I mean, literally. It grew through the cornea and completely covered the iris and pupil. This bizarre condition is called corneal dermoids, and it's a type of benign tumor. The tumors form from tissues that usually appear in other parts of the body. In the case of this unfortunate deer, skin tissue with hair follicles formed in the cornea. That's how the animal got very hairy eyes. Under a layer of thick hair, they had a completely ordinary structure. However, the deer couldn't see, except maybe tell day from night. But this is not enough for life in the wild. Apparently, the deer was born with this tumor, but the disease progressed gradually, so the animal managed to adapt and lived like that for more than a year. Perhaps the deer got help from its mother, and so its chances of survival increased. People can also develop dermoids in their eyes. Yes, hair could grow in our eyes too, but this disease is rare, so an optometrist may only see 1 or 2 cases over their entire career. When it comes to deer, this is literally the second case in the entire history of observations. Given that people have been carefully studying animals since the time of Aristotle, this is saying something. But deer and humans aren't the only ones who suffer from corneal dermoids. This condition is also observed in dogs and looks roughly the same. The skin tissue containing the hair simply grows in the wrong place, causing severe visual impairment. Dogs, of course, are much luckier than deer. People often help them in time. The deer don't have much to hope for. Oh, I forgot to mention an important thing. Hairy eyes don't always lead to going fully blind. Sometimes the wrong tissue doesn't cover the entire cornea, but, for example, grows along the edge of the iris. In this case, the dog won't see that well, but it won't go blind. Such an animal can have a fulfilling life and not experience any problems. In general, it's actually a bit strange that there's so little evidence of animals with hairy eyes. After all, when people encounter something strange, they love making up legends based on it. Well, you need to at least somehow explain what's happening. What would you think if you saw this rabbit? Would you think this is an alien, a monster from the Witcher universe, or maybe a subject of some experiments? In ancient times, people actually believed there were horned hares or rabbits that were half antelope. Legends of horned rabbits are also found in Asia and Africa, as well as in Europe. Such animals are affected by the papillomavirus, or rather its variety. The Shope papillomavirus causes keratinous carcinomas on the head or near the head of the animal, which in general resemble horns. Such carcinomas can metastasize or grow to such an extent that the animal simply can't eat and will die of starvation. Another disease of rabbits that doesn't quite seem real is the inability to hop. Yeah, rabbits that can't hop. All because of a single gene mutation that causes spinal cord defects. As a result, rabbits simply can't coordinate their limbs well enough to make a hop. Scientists suggest that such a mutation in humans would deprive us of the ability to walk normally. But the rabbits found a way out. First, they try to move slowly so that no one notices that something is wrong. And second, some individuals just walk on their front feet. You heard right. They really do this. They arch their backs, raise their hind legs, and walk on their front feet. Rabbits learn this trick literally after the first few months of life, because they gotta somehow make up for their inability to hop. Alas, in the wild, even acrobatics doesn't help much. Rabbits with this mutation die quickly because they can't outrun predators. Perhaps by this point, you might think that rabbits have damn many sorts of defects and deviations. And you're right. For example, there are rabbits that live with their heads tilted to one side. This condition, known as torticollis, makes the neck twist, prompting the rabbit's head to tilt dramatically to one side. Torticollis may be caused by a number of factors, including ear infections, strokes, brain tumors, and other forms of head trauma. But sometimes the reason lies in parasitic fungus. In general, it seems like a rabbit can have neck issues for any reason. Of course, in the wild, it's very difficult to survive with this defect. The odds are better compared to the rabbits that move on their front feet, but still, if there's a human around to help, there's no problem. Rabbits with tilted heads can live happily ever after. While such rabbits look almost normal, the bear named Nyan-Hutu looked really scary. There was a huge tumor weighing 6.6 pounds on his tongue. A giant tongue literally hung from the bear's mouth. Unable to even close the jaws, the poor animal dragged its tongue along the ground while walking, moving on all fours. The tongue hit everything on the way. It was impossible not to. Naturally, such a tumor prevented Nyan-Hutu from eating normally. Not to mention how much stress was put on the bear's head and neck, he had to constantly hold on to something. It's not entirely clear what caused the tongue to get this big. Perhaps this is a congenital issue, or maybe it was about elephantiasis. That is, a parasitic infection carried by mosquitoes. True, there haven't been reports of affected animals so far, but in theory it could happen. Fortunately, they did surgery on the bear. He's all right now. But there are problems that can't be fixed even with the most advanced technologies. For example, dwarfism among giraffes. Yes, it happens. In 2015, a group of biologists discovered an unusual giraffe in Uganda's Murchison Falls National Park. The animal had a long neck characteristic of a giraffe paired with short, stocky legs. As a result, Gimli, guess why they called him that, was way shorter than he was supposed to be. 3 years after this mysterious discovery, scientists spotted another unusually small giraffe called Nigel in a completely different place. It became clear that this isn't some unique case. Giraffes do suffer from dwarfism. I think you don't need me to explain what that is. The same condition's been well documented in humans and is also known to target dogs, cows, and pigs. But dwarfism is quite rare in the wild. How these two giraffes came to be so short is still unclear. I mean, random mutations in the genetic code do cause dwarfism, but the reason could also lie in inbreeding. The giraffe population declined and the animals had to take risks. And here's an interesting fact. More than half of wild giraffes die before reaching adulthood. However, Gimli and Nigel were old enough, so dwarfism hasn't hindered their ability to survive, and yet their height certainly brings so many problems. First, it makes them vulnerable to predators. The main defense tactic of giraffes is to kick or run, and when you have such short legs, it's quite difficult to do that. Second, mating could be an issue. Yes, the females are usually shorter than the males, but not short enough for Gimli and Nigel to, well, handle the task. Unless someone gives them a stool each. Not to mention that females usually need to be fought for. How to win the lady if you're so small? So even if these guys don't end up as someone's dinner, they'll hardly be able to procreate. In general, the survival of an animal born with abnormalities due to disease or mutations largely depends on its family or pack, in short, on those around it. If they're ready to help, the story will have a happy ending. If not, then it still doesn't have to end in a tragedy. Researchers studying sperm whales off the Azores have discovered an unusual dolphin swimming with them. It was an adult male, but its spine was too curved, which made it difficult for the dolphin to swim in a straight line. Perhaps because of this defect, the dolphin simply couldn't catch up with its kin. Or maybe the other dolphins deliberately banished it. After all, they can be quite cruel. Sperm whales, on the other hand, swim very slowly. That's just the right pace for a dolphin with a twisted spine. They also create excellent waves for riding. But there's one very important detail. Dolphins are not on very good terms with sperm whales. The fact that this group accepted a dolphin either means that the whales don't hold grudges, or that a dolphin with a deformed spine is not perceived as a threat. Perhaps the whales saw it as someone weak who needed to be taken care of like a baby. Well, what can I say? That dolphin was lucky. If there were no sperm whales around, it most likely would not have survived. Here's an example of a strange deformation that at one time went viral on the web: a turtle with a heart outside its body. A unique albino female named Hope has a condition so rare that vets have yet to come up with a name for it. In humans, this condition is called ectopia cordis and occurs in about 1 in every 126,000 births. In fact, Hope's heart is simply located outside her chest, completely unprotected. Since vets have never encountered such a defect in animals, the owner of Hope acts on intuition. To protect the life of a turtle, he keeps her in a clean environment, provides the most comfortable area for swimming, and handles her as little as possible. Of course, with a condition like that, Hope won't be able to live with other turtles. A careless movement can simply pierce her heart. and apparently this caring strategy's working. In any case, Hope has grown noticeably bigger. And this is Tira. You've probably heard about him. It's a zebra foal which was spotted in the Masai Mara National Reserve in 2019, then photographed, and the photo went viral on the internet. The photos generated much hype and even unleashed a human stampede in the reserve. Everyone wanted to see this foal. Tira was so different from other zebras, he looked like a completely different species. The reason was pigmentation. Apparently, Tira's melanocytes, that is, the cells that produce melanin, simply didn't understand what they were doing. Because of that, the usual striped pattern is changed to spots. It's not entirely clear why this strange mutation happened, perhaps due to inbreeding. To give a more precise answer to this question, we need studies and other cases, of which there are none. Even though Tira is still black and white, changing the pattern causes big problems. I gotta make it clear right away that brown color is normal for foals. They get darker over time, so there's a reason zebras have stripes. Scientists have been trying to unravel the purpose of the stripes for a long time, and today they've come up with several convincing theories. Comparative, observational, and experimental evidence from 3 independent labs confirms that the stripes protect against horsefly bites. In general, they simply can't sit on something striped. Scientists even specifically tested this using striped claws placed on horses. Though it's still unclear what kind of diseases zebras avoid this way, they couldn't just evolve because horsefly bites feel nasty, right? Other theories postulate thermoregulation and protection from predators. Imagine you're trying to look out for prey and a herd of striped animals runs in front of you. Yeah, this'll confuse you, but if one zebra isn't striped but spotted, it'll immediately become an excellent target. So perhaps zebras with an unusual pattern on their skin are born much more often than we think. They just get eaten too fast. What about Tira? Of course, the researchers thought the foal can't expect a bright future. Tira was last seen in October 2019, so everybody thought he died. But in August 2021, he was suddenly spotted again. During this time, Tira's grown noticeably, which means that he lives a life quite normal for a zebra. Well, let's wish him luck. Try to make it, buddy. See you later.